there. Welcome back to the mobility series. This is going to be the video on the mat. So working on the floor, or if you have an elevated surface, a bed might be a little bit too soft, but the floor with a mat would work well. A shiatsu mat, any sort of mat will work. So it's a nice short sequence, shorter than the wall. And let's just get started. Let's try it out. So you're gonna be mostly lying down just on your back. You can have a pillow under your head. That's absolutely fine. And you'll know that a pillow would be good under your head if when you lie down on your back, your ribs are very lifted, or if your chin is really lifted. So if you feel like you're looking up and overhead, maybe just grab a small, like a shallow pillow and just put it underneath the back of your head. So you're gonna start nice and easy. You wanna just feel your spine on the floor. A lot of the movement here is gonna be really small. So it's gonna be more of a feeling than a lot of big movement, especially at the beginning here. And I want you to just feel your spine in its natural curves. So you have your low back curves away from the mat. It's a little bit up and away from the mat. Same thing with the neck, usually curves away from the mat. And then of course the back of your head, behind your rib cage, and your sacrum are down on the mat. And you're just gonna take some nice deep breaths where you inhale and fill your torso, everything. And then exhale, let everything sort of deflate. And by everything, I mean all directions. So can you take a few seconds here just to breathe? And when you breathe, you expand your body sideways between the head and the tail, between the ceiling and the floor, and then you exhale and you deflate. And we're gonna add movement to your breath. So keep a sense of that breath, that really three-dimensional breath. On your inhale, I want you to tip your pelvis away from you so your tailbone drops into the floor and your low back arches. And then on your exhale, you tip your tailbone up and your low back sinks into the floor. So you inhale, your pelvis tips away, tailbone down. You exhale, it feels a bit like a tuck. Your tailbone lifts and your low back drops. You're going to use your breath. Inhale to tip your tailbone down. And then exhale to curl your tailbone up. Still with that breath, inhale, tailbone down. Exhale, tailbone up. On your inhale, let your belly expand, let your sit bones feel wide. On your exhale, curl your tail, let your sit bones narrow. So if I use my hands on my inhale, my sit bones get to flare a little bit wide. And on my exhale, they come back in. And you can use your hands to kind of make that movement. Wide sit bones as you inhale. Narrow sit bones as you exhale with that bit of a tuck feeling. Inhale, wide sit bones. Exhale. Now I'm saying the word tuck, but you don't actually want the movement to be too muscular. You just want to feel like you're rocking along the back of your pelvis and your sacrum. And as you do that, your sit bones widen as you inhale. They narrow as you exhale. And the real value in this for the hips is that you're allowing the socket to massage the head of the thigh bone. So socket over ball, it's a socket and ball joint. You're going to allow the socket to roll over the ball and allow some movement to create lubrication in the joint. So even gentle, slow movement, inhaling wide sit bones and exhaling narrow sit bones can be enough to encourage some synovial fluid production in your hip sockets. So that could be good. Let's do a few more, and you can always do this many times. You could go for 30 or 40 pelvic curl and arches until you feel like your low back, your hips, and your sacrum and your SI joints are all warmed up. And then you're just going to come to rest. Let's do an arm arc. So moving to the upper body now. Feel your rib cage, the ribs that like to stick out the most. You're going to inhale your arms up over your chest, And then exhale your rib cage down towards the floor as your arms move to your ears. And they don't have to go all the way back. They could end wherever they need to end. Inhale your arms back up, and then down by your sides. So we go inhale the arms up to the ceiling, exhale them overhead to land near the ears if they can. The ribs are down. Inhale up and exhale down. You're going to keep going. Inhale your arms up over your chest. Exhale those ribs down a little bit first before you allow the arms to continue their journey overhead. Inhale up and then exhale down. And what you're practicing with this, inhaling up, exhale the ribs down as the arms go overhead. You're practicing being able to move your arms without dragging your rib cage up with them. So what you wouldn't want is, as your arms go overhead, for your ribs to lift and your low back to arch. You actually want to try and keep your rib cage gently weighted into the floor. Even as your arms go overhead, the ribs feel weighted at the back of the body, and then your arms come up and they float down. And again, you could do a number of these until you feel like your chest is starting to open up a little bit more. Your armpits are getting maybe a bit of a stretch. Even the side body gets a little bit of a stretch. And I'm not pressing my low back into the floor. I'm letting my lumbar spine, my low back, just be naturally curved. Inhaling up. Let's make this the last one. Exhaling over, inhaling up, and exhaling down. Now we're going to go back to the pelvic curl, and we're going to roll up more. So take a breath in to prepare. On your exhale, curl your tailbone up and start to peel your sacrum off, but your waistline should feel heavy. Your hips might start to lift. Again, keep your waist heavy. And then maybe that's as far as you go. Roll back down through your low back, your sacrum, and come back to natural curves in your low back. And then go again. Exhale, curl your tailbone up, let your low back sink. And then as your hips just start to lift, let your waistline drop into the floor. And then roll back down the length of your low back, sacrum, and tailbone. We'll do that one more time. So as you exhale, you're peeling your spine up, but keeping the low back down. The pelvis just lifts, and there's some weight in your feet at the top here. And then you can lower back down through your spine and release all the way to neutral, and maybe try and go a little higher. So exhale and curl your tailbone up and start to peel your spine more. Now make sure you pass through that heavy waistline moment, and make sure you actually do peel one bone at a time off the floor, and you just go up as high as you're comfortable. Make sure your knees stay parallel, and maybe let your eyes drift down a little bit. Feel the weight in your feet. The backs of your legs will be working, and then you're going to lower down one bone at a time. There's always a sticky spot. Don't worry if one chunk of your spine comes down in a big line. That's okay. Keep going, exhaling to peel your spine off, articulating through your spine, feeling the weight in your feet. Maybe letting your knees and your shins reach forward a bit. And then again on an exhale, rolling back down to give your spine, as much as you can, a lengthening and a massage all the way to the floor, back to neutral. And we'll do that 2 or 3 more times, peeling the spine off. Every time you do, you want to see if you can eke out a little more sequencing. Hopefully you're not looking at me. Your eyes can just be down over your cheekbones. You're focused on sequencing through your spine, moving on the exhale and trying to lift one bone at a time, even through those spots where they feel like they're fused and moving as one. You can still try and get one bone to move, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. There's always a tricky spot for everyone, so just focus on yours and do your best to get a little more mobility through it as you repeat this. It's kind of a mini shoulder bridge or pelvic press up and down using your breath. Let's do one more with the breath, inhaling to prepare. And then exhaling, peeling off. Keep your knees pointing forward, reach your shins forward, ribs stay heavy, and then you roll back down. Try and be patient with those sticky spots. It'll eventually open up. It just might take more than 8 or 10 repetitions, and that's okay. Okay, let's put our hands on our hip bones now, or on the front of your pelvis. You actually do want to have your hands there for feedback. And just like we were talking about wide and narrow sit bones earlier, we're going to talk about one wide sit bone at a time. So let's let your right sit bone open up and let your knee move out. And then use your right sit bone coming back to center to bring your knee back in. And then do the left side. Left sit bone goes wide, the left knee opens, and then the left sit bone comes in. So 2 more times, or 1 more each side, leading with the sit bone, inhaling as your leg goes out, exhaling as your leg comes back into center, inhaling that wide left sit bone, exhaling narrow left sit bone. Now keep going. Know that the sit bone is leading, know that your breath is helping. Inhale to go out, exhale to come in, but start to also focus on the stabilizing side. So the reason your hands are on the front of your pelvis and on your hip bones is so that you can tell if when your knee goes out to the side, the other side doesn't lift and your pelvis doesn't rock over. So I'm doing my best to keep the back of my pelvis evenly weighted and keep the front of my pelvis just facing square to the ceiling. And this movement helps to keep it a really nice clean ball and socket joint, or ball and socket movement. Again, so this time instead of the socket moving around the ball, it's the head of the femur, the ball, rolling in the socket. And you may not go out very far, and that's fine, but you also might find that the more you do it, the more you can move your thigh bone out. So try to be patient, focus on your breath, the movement of your sit bones, and the stabilizing side, not letting your pelvis get pulled around as your leg goes out. Our femurs, our thigh bones are pretty heavy, so it could pull the pelvis with it as it goes, but our goal is to try and keep the pelvis square. Okay. And let's take a break from that exercise for a moment. Put your hands back down by your sides. Now we're just going to slide one leg out. Let your heel slide. It's better if you're on a slidey or a slippy surface. Then turn your leg bone out and slide your leg back up. Your knee will be pointing to the side, and then just bring your foot back to flat. So you're going to slide your heel and your foot away. Reach gently through that leg as you turn the thigh bone out. Now slide the foot back up. The knee is externally rotated, thigh bone out, and then you bring it back to center. And 1 more time. So you slide your foot out parallel, toes and kneecap to the ceiling. Then turn your whole leg bone out from the hip, and then slide that leg back up in external rotation and find parallel. And now we'll reverse. So bring your leg out, slide it down and away in external rotation, and then turn it to parallel and slide it back up. So external rotation, the knee goes out, just like the exercise we did before. Slide it out nice and long, find some length as it goes to parallel, and then slide your foot back in, and you're back to standing, and then, or standing on your feet. And then you go outside with the knee, slide the leg out, try to keep the hips soft, turn it to parallel, and bring it back. So we'll repeat with the other leg. Let's slide the foot out first, parallel leg. Turn the leg bone out and slide the foot back up so your knee will be out to the side, and then bring your leg up back to center. Slide the foot away, try and gently reach through your leg, turn it out, keep it turned out as you slide the foot up, and then bring your leg back to center. 1 more time, focusing on your breath, trying to keep again the stabilizing side nice and easy, not letting the pelvis get pulled around too much. And now we reverse. So my leg is going to go out. It's going to slide out in external rotation, comes back to parallel and slides back up. And it turns out. Slide your leg away in the external rotation. Let it roll to parallel. Slide your foot back up. Soft hip flexors. One more time. Knee goes out. Slide your leg out nice and long. Turn the leg bone in and slide in. And then after that, it's nice to do a few more of those pelvic curl and arches. So exhaling to curl, inhaling to arch. Exhaling, narrow sit bones. Inhale, wide sit bones. So your sit bones are kind of doing this inhale, inhale, and exhale. There we go. Inhale and exhale. Okay. And then just back to center. Let your spine rest on the floor here for a moment. We're nearly done, actually. If you like, stretch your legs out nice and straight. You're going to keep your spine really long along the floor. If you can, reach your legs. So think about your legs so long, and then inhale your arms up to the ceiling. Remember your rib cage dropping. Let your ribs sink to the floor as your arms go overhead. So you're not arching your low back. You're not pushing your ribs to the ceiling. You can nod your chin a little bit. Let your neck spine feel long. And just take about 2 or 3 breaths here to feel how long your arms and your legs and your torso can be. So I am reaching through my arms, I'm stretching my legs, and the 2 sides of my body, my waist is long, long, long. So you're going to breathe here, maybe 1 more breath cycle. Try and savor that length, get a little longer. You are working muscularly. It should feel pretty good though. And then you're going to float your arms back up towards the ceiling, and you're going to bend your knees back in. We're going to go into one of our neck eldoas. So on your exhale, you're going to tuck your pelvis and find that pelvic curl. Your low back is now down and flattened on the floor. Not pressing really hard, but it's flat and long. And then I'm going to take my tailbone and my sit bones. You won't be able to see much, but you're going to reach them towards your feet. And that anchors your low back a little bit more. So the tailbone and sit bones reach and the low back is down. We're really going to focus on the spine lengthening first. So bring your arms up overhead and then exhale them back by your ears. Look down over your cheekbones and reach your arms and see if you can feel so long between your sit bones and your arm bones. So you're really stretching along the floor. Your spine is getting longer along the mat. The whole back of your body is stretching. You may notice that your chin naturally tucks. Your eyes look down. Try to keep your breastbone soft. Now we're going to maintain everything and just change the arms. So inhale your arms up over your chest. Keep your eyes down, chin tucked. Long neck, long upper back, long waistline, flat, long low back. Externally rotate your arms and flatten your palms. So it's like you're about to push the ceiling away. And then when you're ready, start to bring your arms down towards your hips. You're going to keep reaching your arms towards your knees. Keep bringing them down towards the floor. Your middle finger might just hover off the floor. I keep my wrist bent backwards and my fingers splayed. And then I reach my arms past my hips, and you'll feel your shoulders depress away from your ears a little bit. You're still breathing. It's quite a lot of work, but you're probably more than halfway through. So see if you can get your low back to be longer. See if you can get your waistline and your upper back to be flatter and longer. Can you lengthen your neck spine? And even as you reach out through the crown of your head, could you push your hands further away from you to let the shoulders glide even a little further away from the ears? Really soften the jaw, soften the throat, soften the breastbone. Use your exhales to release the front of your body, but keep the back of your body long. And we'll hold for 5, 4, reach the arms, reach through the crown and the tail, 2, And 1. Now just the right arm relaxes to the floor. Left arm relaxes to the floor. Your spine slowly releases as you breathe. Your eyes can go back up to the ceiling, and then you just rest. So we'll just take a couple of breaths here. Let your neck spine feel nice and soft. Let your collarbones just fall wide across your chest. And that's it. That's it for the lying down mat series. Pretty easy. Every time you do it, you want to see if you can get a little more movement in all of the exercises. So allow your pelvic curl to give your hip sockets a massage. Allow the one knee out going at a time to give you a little more external rotation, even if it's like a millimeter or less. That's still something. And use all these exercises just to slowly warm up the hip joints, give you a little bit more freedom in your chest. Yeah, and just enjoy. Okay, thanks for joining me on this one. Quick short video, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.